This is VOA News. Reporting by remote, I'm David Byrd. A Canadian judge on Friday signed Huawei Chief Financial Officer Meng Wanzhou's order of discharge, vacating her bail conditions and allowing her to go free after nearly 3 years of house arrest as her U.S. extradition case ended. Outside the courtroom, Meng thanked the Canadian government and the judge in her case.
I'd like to thank the Honorable Associate Chief Justice Holmes for her fairness in the whole legal proceedings. I also appreciate the court for their professionalism and the Canadian government for upholding the rule of law.
Meng reached a deal with U.S. prosecutors earlier Friday that ended their bank fraud case against her. The move resolves a years-long legal and geopolitical tussle that involved the United States, China, and Canada, where Meng had remained since her arrest there in December of 2018. Leaders of the United States, Japan, India, and Australia proclaimed Friday a shared commitment to safeguarding democracy in the Indo-Pacific region, leaving unspoken their common concern about China's growing power. President Joe Biden said, "We're four major democracies with a long history of cooperation. We know how to get things done, and we are up to the challenge." The meeting with Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga comes in the wake of a recently announced agreement among the United States, Britain, and Australia to supply Australia with nuclear-powered submarines. China has been steadily building military outposts in the Pacific region and using them to back claims to sovereignty over vital sea lanes. This is VOA News. The United States has entered a new phase in the COVID-19 vaccination effort, and officials are urging patience with booster shots. AP's Sagar Magani reports.
White House Virus Response Chief Jeff Zients says the boosters are now available for millions of people who had their last Pfizer dose 6 months ago.
There are people who will be getting booster shots as early as this afternoon.
Dr. Anthony Fauci says he knows others may try to get them too.
I'm getting anxious. I really want to get my third shot right now.
But waiting 6 months is important.
Because if you allow the immune response to mature over a period of a few months, you get much more of a bang out of the shot, as it were.
President Biden's advice?
It'd be better to wait your turn in line.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Bachelet, told the Human Rights Council that 350,209 people had been killed in the conflict in Syria in the last 10 years. In her address to the HRC, Bachelet called for the creation of a mechanism that can identify the whereabouts of missing people and track human remains, as well as provide support to survivors.
We must always make victim stories visible, both individually and collectively, because the injustice and horror of each of those deaths should compel us to action.
According to a report commissioned by the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, between March 2011 and March 2021, more than 1 in every 13 deaths was a woman, for a total of 26,727 women in all. In the same period, more than 27,000 children died in the Syrian conflict. A jury considering whether R. Kelly ran an illegal decades-long racketeering scheme targeting women and underage girls for sex ended its first day of deliberations Friday without reaching a verdict on the R&B superstar. AP's Ed Donahue reports.
Jurors sent the judge a note asking to review a transcript of testimony and evidence from a woman who claimed Kelly sexually assaulted her in 2003, locked her in a recording studio for days, and drugged her. R. Kelly is accused of running a Chicago-based criminal enterprise that recruited his accusers for unwanted sex and mental torment. Attorney Deborah O'Canick says his client didn't do anything wrong.
They just started. We hope that they see the evidence or the lack of evidence the way that we saw it.
Prosecutors say Kelly believed the music, the fame, and the celebrity meant he could do whatever he wanted. I'm Ed Donahue.
Visit voanews.com for more. Reporting by remote, I'm David Byrd, VOA News.